So I'm Alan Bacock. I'm with the Big Pine Paiute tribe of the Owens Valley, and I actually I came here to be able to learn, and then I was asked to speak. So I went, okay, great. What am I going to talk about? And one thing as I look at climate and as I look at society, certainly recognizing that there is a disconnect between what people in this room feel is important compared to what people outside of these walls feel is important. And so I just wanted to kind of bring that context together as we look at how climate issues need to be able to impact not just the researchers in the room, but also public society in general. And so I wanted to then give a story then of the Big Pine Paiute tribe and how it lived in its past, what had happened as settlement came over, and then what we're doing in the present to be able to reconnect to the past and be able to reconnect that relationship that we had with climate and environment. In the past, our people lived throughout this region, and they recognized an integration between their life and the way that they were able to thrive and survive with how things worked and evolved throughout this area. And so they were very seasonal in the patterns that they did things and went to different locations when it benefited them for terms of receiving the plants for medicinal use in the proper season, or plants for food in the proper season. And so here we see just pine nuts were a big staple of who we were as a people. And so we adapted to what was going on around us because we recognized that the climate, that the environment, and the conditions which existed within those places provided a life for us, and not only for us, but also for the vegetation and for the animals that our people coexisted with. With this slide, I just want to share also how we looked at life, and we recognize that precipitation was very low coming out from the sky, and yet we were able to utilize snow melt that occur from the Sierra Nevada to be able to recognize, even though we don't have a lot of rainfall in the valley, it's not what is typically considered an arid area because of the amount of water resource available to us through the snow melt coming off of the Sierra Nevada. And so there was a survey done by A.W. von Schmidt back in 1855 and 1856. His purpose was to survey the areas and look at section lines and townships and create corner posts. And as he did this survey, he wasn't supposed to look at our culture, look at our way of life. It just so happened that as he did these section lines, he would make notes. And along these places where the section lines hit different attributes, he made note of that. And so you can see within here there are some different notes here showing that areas have been irrigated. They've been irrigated by Indians in the area. And so that just really gives a clue as to how our people used to utilize that water resource in the past, where we had a very extensive network of ditches that ran throughout the valley to be able to cultivate plant species that helped our people to survive. And then through that, the way that we did things wasn't merely to move water from one area to another, but was to slow down water. And as water slowed down, it created habitat that other organisms were able to use as well. And so that's an important piece of looking at how we use what's available to us. It shouldn't just be available to humans as human beings, because we live within an environment, an ecosystem, which needs to continue to be able to thrive, so that all of us then, whether it be a vegetation species, a plant species, or human species, can be in the best, have the best foot forward in the environment in which we live. As we look at von Schmidt and the section lines in, let's see, this area here. This is what he had been able to write down, and then in this area here, the red part is the Big Pine Indian Reservation as it sits today, and what we did then is we did an overlay of the section lines with the notes created by Von Schmidt with the overlay of the reservation, and here we see that the section lines are here. Here's one of the corner posts there, and he made these different lines going across that those section lines, and those lines being ditches that he encountered as he walked along the path, and so where the Big Pine Indian Reservation sits then is right in line with ditches, and this isn't necessarily by design. We were placed onto these reservations not because of where they fit within our culture, but because they seemed by others to be the best place to put us. But one thing which happened from the past into the present is we had different eras happen. First, we had people come in from other areas, mostly a ranching type community that began to actually settle into the valley. And as they settled into the valley, one of the first things they did was they put up fences. All of us like to be able to depict our boundaries, our property, and yet that philosophy and that thought wasn't a part of what our people thought. We didn't believe that you could own things such as land and water. And so it was a very different concept for us to be able to understand. But these fences went up regardless. As people came into a valley without any fences, any sense of ownership, it became a free-for-all then to be able to develop lands for the sake of those coming in. And so these fences went up, and those fences, they separated out the native people from the lands, those seed lands that they used to utilize. They separated out then these ditches and these networks of waterworks from the use of my people to the use of others. And they had different concepts in mind when those ditches then were used. And it started to create a separation from our people with the land and the water throughout the valley. And we had to then figure out a new way, a different way to be able to survive in the place that we called home for thousands of years. Oops, wrong. Then after ranchers had come in and settled into the valley for a while, then a new era began as the city of Los Angeles looked at the Owens Valley region and said, we desire the water from that location to be able to feed our people. And so with that then, the ranching community started to change, and LA began to move water from the Owens Valley into Los Angeles through the Los Angeles Aqueduct. And with it then created different changes, because now water was no longer staying in the valley. And so what we used to still be able to utilize as we saw vegetation then start to die off, it was no longer there. Then we were placed into our separate reservations, constrained to different locations that then again minimalized our use of both the land and the water, and really separated us and our people from the environment in which we lived. And I kind of call that an amnesia, a forced amnesia that took place. It took place and with that we started to lose some of the knowledge of our people. We started to lose the language of our people as we were forced to go to schools out of the area and told that our language was no longer an important piece of who we are. We needed to succumb to the English language. We needed to have this new culture brought on us. And so with that then, it was kind of the final straw in losing a lot of who we are as Native people. And as a society, we then look at climate control as everything. We no longer live within our means. We desire to control that which is around us. And we can certainly see that as we jump into our car and we put on the temperature at the temperature we feel most comfortable, as we get into our houses or our businesses and we're upset because it's 5 degrees too cold or too hot. And so we change those things. And we've become a society then which doesn't rely on what is around us, but what we can control around us. And because of that then, we're not really interested in climate as a whole. We might be interested in weather, so we'll watch the weather station or the weather channel to see, do I need to wear a jacket? Do I need to not wear a jacket? What about an umbrella? Of course, Californians never wear umbrella or never have umbrellas, so we don't ever have those with us. But we have this sense of control that we need to do. And with that control then, we're no longer wanting to interact with the climate and recognize the importance of that for humans as well as for other organisms around. And so as a tribe then, we've recognized that separation. We've recognized that disconnect, that amnesia effect that's gone on. And so we've been working on ways to be able to bridge those back together, to be able to look at the wisdom of our past, to be able to inform our present day, how best to be able to integrate with the environment around us. And one of the ways we did that is doing a demonstration garden to be able to bring us back outside and to integrate our lives with the lives of both plants and animals that exist outside. And so we have this demonstration land. But in prior use, it was just off of 395 north of the tribal office, and so we used it a lot for storage. You can see just kind of there's a trailer that was just going to be used in a different location of the reservation. We have some housing, storage containers there, some remnants of a sewer project, and that's kind of what we had before. And then we started working the land, and we did that by looking at the land first and recognizing that as our people looked at the land, they didn't just look at what we could do with it, but they looked at how the land looked itself, and then integrated plans and ideas in terms of how we would use the land based on what the topography that was already existed there. And so we created a design, a garden design, utilizing the topography that was present there. We wanted to be able to use, this is a swell that was created. You can see pictures of it here in progress. As we wanted to integrate ideas of permaculture, looking at a way to create a sustainable agriculture for our people, as well as looking at the past and seeing how we used to utilize waterways and ditchways. And so we have ponds interconnecting with everything, and then trees that are now able to provide food. You can see fruit trees that were planted here. And right now they don't look like much. they're small, and yet over the years they will develop and they will provide food for our people. Utilizing, we have a lot of rocks in the Owens Valley, and instead of just looking at rocks and moving rocks from one area to another, looking at how to be able to utilize those rocks, creating raised beds and providing a raised bed out of natural material that is readily available to us. And then we use this garden and this idea of sustainability forward and educating others. And so we've had a lot of different people. There's a group of Native children from the Bay Area who came over to want to see what the garden was like and to hear about our thoughts and ideas. These are a group of our Native children learning more about different ways of being able to grow food, looking at canning and preserving the food that you grow, and then interacting that also with our past and looking at basket making and how pollution to our water resources impacts the vegetation, and how we want to be able to protect the vegetation so that we can continue to move along as a Native people, reconnecting to our past. And as the end, I just want to share that some of the benefits of a society then actively engaged in the environment is that we'll have higher ecological values. We then recognize the importance of clean air and clean water for our people and for the other organisms in which survive because of our use of those things. Awareness of climate variability, because now we're all of a sudden integrated within our environment enough to know the variables going on. And then when we recognize those variables, we then can create some practical solutions to adapting to those variabilities, because now we're living within the environment in which we are. And all of that then creates an increased resiliency, both for people as well as for the environment at large and where we exist. So that's what I had. Are there any questions along Yes.
I noticed that you put your experimental garden where some of the original irrigation dishes have been, but I assume that the landscape's completely changed now, and there's no opportunity to try and restore any of that original water system.
That's absolutely correct. Yeah, the ditch network that was present at the time of the survey is no longer there. And so, in fact, we started the garden without even that knowledge of how of where those ditch lines worked. And I forgot to point that out, but you're absolutely correct. Where the garden sits is directly in line with where those ditches ran. And so, as we did that overlay, it gave me goosebumps to recognize that not only was this an idea that we had from the get-go, but it's in the proper location for the best demonstration of it possible.
Yeah. How is your garden integrated or irrigated now?
It's irrigated. We through a land exchange with the federal government and the Department of Water and Power, we have an irrigation system. And we're given a water allotment, and so that irrigation system then feeds the entire reservation through lines. And so we move some lines to be able to go along that parcel, and so we feed it. It is fed through Big Pine Creek water that's diverted and entered into our irrigation system. So that's where it's getting its water from, is that irrigation system.
Yeah. Do the gardens include any traditional food or fiber uses?
Yeah, and I should mention the garden is fresh and new, really, in what you saw there to this year. Yeah. And so what our future plans is to integrate more of our traditional foods and then traditional fibers that we would use. Yeah. We have an herb labyrinth that we haven't yet created yet, which will include an outer ring with a lot of those type of materials. Then we have some other plots that we would like to put in some of those plant species that tend to move very quickly, and we don't want them to become an invasive to some of the other things we have going on. So we're separating them out from some of the other structures and things we're doing.
That's great.
Do you notice your participants recognizing things that are changing, probably more in weather than climate, but you might have feedback from elders who have actual climate experience? Are they providing you that feedback that are participating in the garden?
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of that comes from this idea that we've really become disconnected, and so this garden and what we're trying to accomplish is to then recover some of that memory that has been lost. And as we've done that, it's been a slow process of gathering some of that knowledge, because they're having to remember things in the past and sometimes trying to jog some of that memory takes some time. But no, I have received some good response from some elders that have been able to share stories now of when they were young in different areas, because a lot of them didn't necessarily grow up on the reservation, so they're reconnecting their memories to other locations within the valley, and that's been a very good thing and a very helpful thing as we move forward. Yeah. Well, thank you very much.